Welcome to the DoubleACS Daily News. Scams are an ongoing problem in the community, especially those targeted toward the elderly. To get an update on how the Attleboro Police Department is addressing these issues, we spoke with Crime Analyst Anthony Stevens.
Fraud overall actually fell by 9% last year versus the previous year. While that's good news and we'd kind of like to look at fraud overall from year to year, more importantly we want to look at it more for the historical trend lines. And we want to look at it, say, from a 10-year period. And over the 10-year period, however, even though we saw a decrease last year, there was a 16% increase noted for the overall trend in the last 10 years for fraud. So it is a continuing problem that we're seeing a historical rise in over that time frame. The fraud kind of runs the gamut of a lot of different subcategories, if you will. Anything from credit card fraud to online fraud, so people calling and trying to scam you out of something one way or the other. What we've seen over the last several years, people have heard of the IRS scam, and there's two different ways to look at that. People have called and demanded that you owe back taxes and say, hey, you either need to pay these taxes or we're going to send the local sheriff or the local police department over to arrest you. Or the other way to look at it too is a lot of people have reported, especially in recent years, for those people that may tend to file later in the season, they're finding out when they're filing that their taxes have already unfortunately been filed for them by someone else, so that they can claim those that tax money on their behalf instead. So that's one of the more frequent schemes we see. One of the other ones that have come up in the media, especially last year, was the grandparent schemes or the grandson schemes, where someone will call and say, your grandson just got into an accident. He's being held in jail, and we either need bail money or money so that we can get him out, basically, is what it comes down to. So, again, they'll kind of play those scare tactics to people, and they try to keep you on the phone. And one of the things you want to do is, if you have a call like that, take the caller's information down, take the company or his position, the phone, a callback number, and call the police department. That's what we're there for. One of the scams we saw last year particularly, although again it's been going on for a few years, is someone that'll call and say that they're calling from National Grid. You haven't paid your electric bill, so either you pay us now or we're shutting your electric off. They don't want to check, they don't want your credit card, so what they'll have you do is go out to a local store and pick up some prepaid credit cards or debit cards. MoneyPack is another one that's big. What they'll do is they'll have you come back, call them at a callback number, and then they'll have you, I've never seen a MoneyPack card, but apparently if you turn it around and scratch the numbers off, if you transfer those numbers off the back of the card to them over the phone, they'll immediately drain the account, and then the money's been drained and you pretty much take the loss for it. But anyway, so when it comes to the National Grid scams, for instance, but we've seen not only residents but businesses as well. I think there were 3 or 4 businesses in the city last year that actually saw these types of scams too. So again, when it comes to, in the case of, say, a National Grid scam or a utility scam, take the caller's information and then look at don't call back the number they gave you per se, but call the number on your bill for National Grid and say, this is the kind of call I got. I'm wondering if I really owe you money, and they'll be able to set you straight on whether or not you do. The other thing too is, in past years, typically depending upon the scheme, they target elderly folks as well. Usually the over 55 has been particularly hard hit. So, we do encourage people to reach out to your family, to your friends, just to kind of give them a heads up what's going on. We do try to post stuff on social media, but not everybody's connected through social media. If people are familiar with ATM skimmers, we have seen them in town. As recently as last year, there was a local convenience store where there was a skimmer placed. As the world kind of gets smaller, technology gets better, it advances. People can commit crimes not just from people that live in the city, but people from other states and from across the world actually can commit crimes in a matter of minutes just by the use of an email or through a telephone.
That's it for today's update. You can watch all of our content in high definition by visiting our website, DoubleACS.com, by downloading the DoubleACS mobile app, or visiting the DoubleACS Roku channel. For DoubleACS News, I'm Austin Ricketts.